Welcome to the PM Logic. In the previous videos, we explored the initiation, planning, and execution phases of a project, where strategy is defined and delivery begins. Today, we focus on monitoring and controlling phase, the stage where PM ensures that the project remains aligned with its commitments. Now, according to the PMBok, monitoring and controlling is defined as a separate process group, but in the real world projects, monitoring does not happen as a standalone phase. Governance, oversight, and performance monitoring are continuous responsibilities that start at the initiation and continue all the way through project closure. In this video, we will explore how project professionals monitor performance throughout the lifecycle of the project and ensure that the delivery stays aligned with the original commitments. We will look at how governance and escalation mechanisms are used to address issues before they become major problems, and how PMs interpret project data and performance indicators to understand what is really happening inside the project. We will also discuss how baselines are protected, how teams identify early warning signals where something begins to drift, and how structured tools such as PMIS and reporting frameworks help leaders maintain visibility and control over complex initiatives. If you want to learn beyond theory and start thinking like a project leader who protects commitments and build executive trust, this video is for you. Let's begin. What is monitoring and controlling? It is where project leadership become visible. It is the discipline of ensuring that commitments made during planning are actually honored during execution. It's not about reacting when something fails. It's about detecting variance early, understand its root cause, and making informed decision before small deviation become material risks. Monitoring is the continuous process of collecting performance data, tracking progress against the performance measurement baseline, and communicating status with clarity and transparency. Controlling is a decision layer. It involves comparing actual performance with the planned performance, analyzing trends, evaluating alternatives, approving or rejecting change requests, and implementing correcting and preventive actions when required. In the professional environments, monitoring gathers the evidence and controlling protects the outcomes. And now, when we understand the distinction, we naturally move into the discipline that makes control meaningful, which is governance. Control without governance is just noise. Governance defines who has decision authority, what threshold triggers escalation, and when and what deviations require intervention at a higher level. In mature organizations, not every variance demands escalation, but every material variance demands ownership. A 2% fluctuation in cost may be absorbed within contingency. A 15% schedule step impacting a regulatory deadline may require immediate sponsor engagement. This is especially visible in large infrastructure or technology programs. Consider a major public infrastructure initiatives currently underway in North America. When budgets expand significantly beyond the approved baseline, it's not simply a financial issue. It becomes a governance conversation. Who approved the rebaselining? What controls failed? Were risks underestimated? Escalation discipline protects executive credibility. When variance triggers are predefined, projects avoid emotional reactions. Decisions become structured, measured, and defensible. And governance only works if the data feeding it is accurate and relevant. The next question becomes, what data do we need to monitor performance effectively? Data collection must serve decision making. Collecting information without clarity of purpose creates reporting overhead, not insights. At a minimum, professional project environments track actual duration against the planned duration, resource utilization rates, actual costs versus the approved budget, scope modifications, and performance variances. But data becomes powerful only when answers forward looking questions. Where are we versus plan? What is our forecasted completion date? What is the estimate at completion? What is the estimate to complete? Are we trending towards a performance gap that could impact business objectives? Monitoring is just not about documenting the past, it's about protecting the future. A strong examples come from our digital transformation programs in the financial sector. Many banks currently modernizing the legacy systems are tracking cost burn rates weekly, not monthly. Because leadership understands the late detection of the cost variance reduces corrective options. The earlier you detect the trend shift, the more levers you retain. And all of this depends on one foundational concept, which is the baseline. A baseline is not a prediction, it's a management commitment. When sponsors approve a cost or schedule baseline, they are not endorsing a rough estimate, they are committing organizational capital, timing, and accountability to a defined outcome. That commitment aligns with funding approvals, regulatory obligations, market windows, and strategic priorities. Baselines exist to enable variance reduction. Without a baseline, there is no meaningful control but only opinion. A baseline creates transparency, it supports early intervention, and elevates discussions from assumptions to evidence. Frequent rebaselining often signals weak governance. It suggests unstable assumptions, insufficient scope discipline, underestimated risk exposure, or reactive decision making. Strong governance treats rebaselining as an exception, not a habit. Consider a project forecasting a 20% cost overrun at midpoint or a sudden surge in scope related CRs. These are not minor deviations. They are trigger points. They require a structured review, executive escalation, and deliberate course correction. Senior project leaders practice integrated performance monitoring. They do not isolate schedule from cost or cost from risk. They assess schedule health along with cost performance metrics. They monitor risk exposure trends, change volume, resource capacity, and even stakeholder confidence. Because projects fail quietly before they fail visibly. Baselines do not restrict execution, they protect governance, discipline, and preserve enterprise value. And this leads us naturally into best practices that separate reactive management from structured leadership. Best practices begins with focusing KPIs on major single points of failure. Monitoring everything equally creates noise, and monitoring critical risk drivers creates control. Balancing leading and lagging indicator is essential. Lagging indicators tells you how you performed last month. Leading indicators signal where you may perform next quarter. For example, month-end financial reports and missed milestones are lagging. Rising change request velocity is leading. Increasing team fatigue is leading. And escalating vendor disputes are leading. When organizations fail to monitor leading indicators, they are surprised by the outcomes that were visible weeks earlier. Professional monitoring is not about intensity, it's about intelligent focus. And intelligent monitoring depends on structured control strategies. Control can be preventive, concurrent, or feedback based. Preventive control occurs before work begins. For instance, clear quality standards, scope validation workshops, and risk planning sessions are preventive mechanisms. Concurrent control occurs during execution. For example, daily stand ups, weekly performance reviews, and milestone audits allow immediate course correction. Feedback control evaluates performance after completion. For example, inspections, post implementation reviews, and financial audits fall into this category. Control can also originate internally and externally. Internal controls are embedded within the project processes. External controls may include regulatory oversight, compliance audits, or independent assurance reviews. In industry like pharmaceuticals or financial services, external controls significantly shape project behavior. Regulatory deadlines become immovable baselines, and deviation tolerance narrows. Strong control also depends on early warning signals. Increasing change requests often indicate unstable requirements. High rework percentages suggest quality breakdowns. Repeated milestone extensions signal unrealistic planning or capacity strain. Low morale indicates unsustainable execution pressure. Delayed risk mitigation implies governance drift and stakeholder disengagement. Recognizing these patterns early preserves optionality. And to manage this complexity efficiently, organizations rely on structured information systems. Let's talk about project management information system. A PMIS converts raw data into actionable insight. It integrates scheduled data, cost tracking, risk registers, and change logs into dashboards that provide real time visibility. Modern PMIS platforms support executive dashboards, trend visualization, and scenario analysis. Instead of manually compiling reports, project leaders can simulate impact scenarios and forecast performance trajectories. The difference between data and information is interpretation. The difference between information and control is decision making. PMIS enable monitoring, but disciplined execution of the controlling process is what protects governance. Controlling begins with establishing standards and baselines. Without defined standards, comparison is impossible. Actual performance is then measured and documented. Variance analysis follows, identifying deviation and understanding root causes. Corrective or preventive actions are recommended and implemented. Finally, plans are updated and communicated transparently to the stakeholders. Control is not episodic, it's continuous. Every reporting cycle reinforces accountability, and accountability is effective only when communication clarity exists. Let's review what the performance and reporting challenges are. Even the best controlling and monitoring processes can fail if communication is not aligned. Many projects struggle not because data is unavailable, but because communication is misaligned. Effective controls require clarity regarding what information is required, who needs it, when should it be delivered, in what format, through which channel, and who owns reporting integrity. Poor reporting can create false confidence, and over reporting can create confusion. Professional communication aligns frequency, format, and audience expectations. Tierco requires concise executive summaries, and delivery team requires detailed operational metrics. Transparency must be calibrated, and behind all of this are the analytical tools that support objective assessments. Now, let's briefly review the analytical tools that support structured monitoring and objective decision making. From the core tools perspective, earned value analysis remain one of the most powerful integrated performance tools because it connects scope, schedule, and cost in a single framework. Variance analysis highlights trend direction. Gantt charts visualize sequencing. PERT and critical path method reveals schedule sensitivity. Burn down charts provide agile transparency. Advanced analytical tools such as Monte Carlo simulations support probabilistic forecasting, especially in complex programs with multiple dependencies. Statistical sampling supports quality control. Pareto charts identify the vital few drivers of the variance. Cause and effect diagrams uncover root causes, and control charts determine process stability. Tools themselves do not control projects. Structured decision making does. And that brings us to the final takeaways. Monitoring and controlling is not about policing teams, it's about protecting values. It ensures commitments are honored, risks are surfaced early, sponsors are informed, decisions are evidence based, and projects finish with credibility intact. Execution without control is gambling, and control without insight is bureaucracy. Great project managers balance both. Monitoring builds transparency, and controlling builds trust. Before we close this chapter, let's test your project management thinking with another PM logic challenge. Imagine you are managing a project and you notice that the actual cost is trending about 15% higher than the approved cost baseline. What would you do in this situation? You can see the options on my screen. Pause the video if you need more time, choose your answer, and drop it in the comment box. Let's see how many of you think like a structured project manager. Thank you for watching the video. If you are looking to build a career in project management, transition into the field, prepare for PMP certification, or grow into more advanced roles in project management industry, this channel is designed to help you. If you found this video useful, please subscribe to the PM Logic and share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what topics you would like me to cover in the future videos. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.